You may have seen or heard of the film Helltown. It came out in 2017 on Destination America, and it supposedly was a documentary on the true story of a town in Ohio that had satanic activity, ghosts, hauntings, murders, all kinds of stuff. Well, in all actuality, it was not a documentary. It was like a Blair Witch Project, and little of what was in the film was actually true, and none of the people that were supposedly real in the film actually were real. They were all actors. But there is a place and a legend of Helltown, Ohio. And it isn't exactly what you would think it is, but it's more than you think it is. So I took a trip down there, and I like to share with you what I found and what I didn't find in Forgotten America. Founded in 1806, Boston Village was the oldest village in Summit County. So in the 1970s, there was a worry that there wasn't enough national park land. So President Ford signed a bill to create more national parks. And this area in Summit County was looked at as a great place to put one. It would become Cuyahoga Valley National Park. Unfortunately, the people that were living there in this town were not that happy about this. So all the homes that were taken in eminent domain by the government were boarded up, no trespassing signs on them. And instead of doing anything with the homes and creating this national park, it just sat. So during the 70s, 80s, locals would come drive through the area and they would see the abandoned buildings, and all of the legends started to grow. The hellish aura of the area only got worse when the National Park Service acquired Kretschy Dump in 1985. And this dump area was right at the beginning of where the national park would be. Right now, just imagine, they're trying to get this park going, the national park. There's abandoned buildings boarded up all throughout. It's becoming increasingly a haunted looking type place, and now they get this dump. But rangers were visiting the site and became ill and covered with rashes. And then they discovered that the dump was highly polluted with toxic chemicals that had been improperly disposed of. And they had been improperly disposed of by major corporations like Ford Motor Company, General Motors, Waste Management of Ohio, using this land right next to where people were living as a toxic waste dump. So all of this together created all these myths and the legends. There's a church that supposedly has satanic activity, but this church actually, this Gothic church that they talk about, it's in Peninsula, Ohio. And it doesn't really have upside down crosses. It is just built in a Gothic style. So again, it doesn't really seem to fit the story because it doesn't even really look scary, and it's still being used as a Roman Catholic church. There was an abandoned bus that was here, and people said a family left their kids there or something, went to the store, came back, everybody was murdered. Well, the truth of this bus that did actually exist was that the family was living in the bus while they were constructing a house, and the bus has been removed at this time, as have most of the buildings in Helltown have been bulldozed down by the government. So locals I talked to knew about the dumping and the hazardous waste, and I think this, along with the abandoned buildings, created some of the legend and the folklore of the mutants and the giant python, and I'm surprised I didn't throw some melon heads down in here. All of this just led to a very unsettled atmosphere, which it sort of still has today. The buildings that still exist today, to the most part, are owned by the federal government, and they're used as visitor centers. This used to be the haunted road that people would drive on and say that they saw ghosts and demons. But as you can see from the Google car that went down the street when the street was still open, it doesn't look real friendly. It doesn't look like they're welcome. So I imagine the Google guy turned around really fast and went the other direction. Now the cemetery here, the Boston Cemetery, is very strange because it goes, you drive in through it and it's sort of up on this big mound. Now I read other places that said it was an old burial mound. I don't know, it looks like probably the Park Service gouged out around the outside to put it up really high, and there's a sheer cliff, which I had trouble driving my car around, as you can hear right here. Okay, how is this going to work? Let's get me out of here. So, be a good accident. So it is not really user-friendly for cars. It's not really user-friendly for anything. And I think and even though this has Civil War people in the cemetery, the thing I don't understand about this place is why it is so unfriendly and inhospitable. Like I said, when I drove in, I took a picture right outside in the Boston Township area, and I look in the back rearview mirror, and there's a cop. And the cop follows me. It was a sheriff all the way through. I was going to take pictures going down the road, the curvy road to get in there, Hines Road, but he was right on my tail, and he was obviously running my plates. So I pulled in here to the gas station, which no longer exists, but they keep it because it's a conversation piece. It's historical looking. But that's like the place. It's real, but it's not. And there are more rangers here than I've ever seen in a national park. And I've been to quite a few national parks. I can't get over the number of police activity and rangers in this national park. There's a C&O towpath that goes off to the side here, and this is where you can park and you can walk down the towpath, and that's where most of the people are going. And you can also have horses and you can bike. There's a lot of people on that little towpath, and on the other side is the Cuyahoga River. So that goes up through north in the state park, and you can't really, there are a couple trails, but you can't really go off into the woods. Now, in a lot of national parks you can, but it's very, I don't know, a lot of roads, you can't go up, no trespassing, the police activity. Now, I understand it's right before Halloween, and that movie did come out, Helltown, in 2017. But, I've been to other places that are supposedly haunted, and you just don't get this weird sense that everybody's watching. And another part of the legend is that there is a barn that satanic activity occurs in. The barn is said to have covens, all this sort of stuff. And of course, all these places we're not allowed to go in. And here we have a pentagram and we have an upside down cross. So whether those are made by the coven or the witches or the devil worshippers or the Satanists, or they're done by the Park Service to keep people out or to keep this, this story going, I don't know. You would think that the more that they open the area, the less the stories and the legend would continue to grow. The more they close it down and they act like there's something to hide or there is something happening, the more that people start thinking that there is. It reminded me of Roswell. So all in all, what I get from Helltown, Ohio, is that the legend was created not by bad kids and weirdos that come in, but because the government, using eminent domain, took over these people's home. Then they sat on it. It didn't work for whatever reason for a while. Then they find the dump that has the toxic waste. People get sick. There's still abandoned buildings. It just was kind of a mess. It doesn't create a happy place.